Mic up.
Yeah, it's right there. You can clip it on your... You look great. What is your name?
Like my full name?
Yeah.
Do you need my social?
No.
Kari Roland.
My name is Lily Roland.
My name is Ellie Roland.
My name is Jay Roland.
Bye-bye.
I am Hannah and Ellie's little sister and Calvin's older sister.
My wife's Kari. Then there's Ellie. There's you, Hannah. There's Lily. And then there's Calvin.
But one thing you gotta know is I'm the black sheep of the family. I'm not really part of it.
A black sheep of the family.
So we have my mom, Kari, and my adopted father, Jay, who is my dad, I guess. And then my half-sister, Hannah, my half-sister, Lily, and my half-sister, Calvin.
You said half-sister Calvin.
Yep.
I know what you're probably thinking, what the heck happened, right? So basically, my parents used to date when they were like in their 20s or so. They broke up because my mom moved to Japan and my dad moved to California. After 6 or 7 years, my mom was dating this man at the time. They were engaged. They had Ellie. He turned out not to be so great, so we kind of forget about him. Anyway, that's not the main point of this. The whole point of it is that my parents reconnected. My dad has so much love for Ellie that he adopted Ellie as his own child. And then after they got married, they had me, Lily, and Calvin. So that explains it. Ellie, she's been such a guiding figure in my life, and if it wasn't for her, like, I would be the oldest, and I don't know if I could do that.
I guess I'm the only child that's not fully related to both parents.
Do you want to talk about your dad at all?
I don't know my dad. He abandoned me when I was 3. It's fine. It's fine.
Do you know why we're meeting today?
I don't know exactly. I know that it's something to do with your brother Calvin.
We're meeting because Hannah needs to graduate college.
Why? To talk about our family and about you and everything.
Class.
What are your thoughts about our family dynamic?
Thoughts about our family dynamic? Well,
We have the coolest family. We really do.
Well, especially if I'm thinking about Calvin, I mean, that really changed the dynamic. Because I know that my attention has, really swung towards him from the day he was born.
our family has always had an interesting dynamic, I feel, as the oldest, and the far distance between us in age. I mean, you and me are 4 years, you and Lily are 13 months.
Our family dynamic is very unique in a sense that we grew up in a household that isn't like the average family.
I always felt much older. I think when I went off to college, the family dynamic changed a lot. I think when anyone goes off to college, it changes. But I felt so left out of the family. I didn't know anything that was going on at all anytime.
Well, these days it's all changed so much because he's the only one still at home.
Our family dynamic has always been very close, though, I think. We're a very close-knit family. Lots of love, lots of care.
I feel very lucky and blessed to have the children that I have. They're good kids, good people, great hearts.
Class.
We're very nice.
Yeah.
What else?
We have it. So,
Mean and jerk?
yeah.
Who's a mean and a jerk?
Like, Mom, but I like the apples.
All of us?
Yeah. I like apples. So,
What is Down syndrome to your understanding?
I could literally go on a tangent.
Down syndrome, to my understanding, is when there is a duplicate of the 23rd gene. Is that right?
Well, in a scientific sense, that just means that you have one less chromosome.
Or there is a 23rd gene and there's supposed to be 22.
Clearly, I don't know shit about Down syndrome. I should go read a book.
Really what I know about it is the personality characteristics and also the physical characteristics it gives are very noticeable.
I think that, everyone's minds work the same. It just comes down to your ability to communicate.
The wider jaw, larger face, deep set eyes, things like that.
Well, I've read the definition, and you'll probably provide it. It's something about an extra chromosome somewhere. Trisomy 21 is the medical name.
It's called trisomy 21, meaning that the person's 21st chromosome, they have a copy of 3.
There's that, and then there's the living part of it, which is living with him and who he is, and some of the limitations that it's brought to his life, but also so much of the meaning that he's brought out in all of our lives and in our relationships with him and other people.
Just real briefly, what happened is when cell division was happening, and this could happen anywhere in the early stages, the cells, when they split, for some reason they stuck together, and so when it split, it made 3 instead of 2.
When we first heard the term, the day he was born, that just wasn't something we ever thought we'd hear. And so that's kind of an unforgettable day. But then he also had other physical issues that kept him in the hospital for his, the first 60 days of his life. And that became the more immediate concern was, Down syndrome, whatever, but we're worried about, these other issues that he was contending with. And when he got through all of that, then it was just a big, okay, now let's just get on with life.
Like, when did you learn Calvin had Down syndrome?
After he was born.
I'm sure we learned noticeably early. I'm sure our parents told us early. Honestly, I don't remember much from my childhood in general.
It was really confusing and scary and crazy, and I felt like my husband and we knew what Down syndrome looked like, but that's about it.
And I don't know, for me, my memory of that was he was our 4th, so it's like, you kind of, I know how to do this, and it was a scheduled C-section, so, I said, kissed Kari, see you later, see you down there, and then got my scrubs on, and then I walked into the OR, and something was not right. Usually you're going into a birth, and everything's kind of got a positive energy about it, but this was like, something is terribly wrong here, and nobody wanted me anywhere near things.
So there was a lot of learning, and it took a little while, because before anyone at the hospital where I gave birth wanted to definitively say that he had Down syndrome, they had to do blood work, and then they do a blood count to see how many cells actually have the copy of 3, 21st chromosome, because not all of them do. And so they kind of want to see what degree of Down syndrome he had, and so it took like a week.
Like, do you remember when you were like, okay, Calvin has Down syndrome?
No.
I don't either. Except Mom has a story.
Should I tell the story?
Yeah. You should.
So me and Hannah were like Tweedledee and Tweedledum, and we were just a couple of 2 peas in a pod, just raining chaos everywhere we went. And one of my mom's really good friends would take care of us while she was at work. And one day I think we started kind of just mimicking her daughter. because we were dumb kids and thought it was funny. And then she blew up at us and said, how dare you treat my daughter like that when your brother is the same way? And we were like, what is this woman talking about?
I just remember asking the doctor, in your personal opinion, not your professional opinion, because no one would say, and do you feel he has it? And the doctor said, yes, my personal opinion is he has Down syndrome.
Our mom sat us down that night and was like, told us that Calvin has Down syndrome, and that so does Madison, the girl that we were mimicking, I guess. I don't even remember what we were doing, but it wasn't appropriate behavior.
When Calvin was born, there were some complications that it's very long story, but in any case, the hospital where I gave birth, the NICU was in a different hospital. So I was at one hospital and he was ambulanced blocks to the next hospital.
So they got him and then they whisked him off. I'm like, where do I go? Should I be with Kari? Should I be with the baby? And I think Kari and everybody was like, go be with the baby.
Before he went on his ambulance ride, they wheeled him past me in recovery, and I said, he had his back to me because he was kind of on the side, and I said, turn him over, and as soon as they turned him over so I could see his face, I could tell. I knew right away.
So, yeah, and then he was surrounded by this wall of doctors and people. So I'm just like, hello, hello. And I just kind of reached my hand in there and held his little hand. And I just decided, I'm going to be right there. I'm going to be right there with him. So and I was just like singing to him and stuff as all this emergency care was happening for him. And it's weird because, you're thrilled because here's this little baby and you've been waiting for him, you're excited to see him, but then you're also scared because, they had the IVs going through his belly button, which is what they do with an infant. And so there's all these wires coming out of him, and you're scared that, well, how is this going to be? So, but then I was like, well, I don't want him to think that I'm scared, so that's when I decided to start singing to him. Because I used to sing to him when he was in the womb, in Kari. I would talk to him and sing to him, because we named him. And so, we were talking to this kid for a good while, so I thought, he knows this voice. So I remember that too, just like, I'm determined that I don't want him to think that we're scared. Everything's going to be okay. So I didn't want him to be scared, really. Because, we can all pick up on that.
Oh, yeah.
Little kids can from an early age. So I was like, no, let's sing. So I just made up this song for him.
Do you remember it?
Little boy Calvin, little boy blue, little boy Calvin, I love you. Something like that.
Oh, yeah. Aww.
I think before Calvin, I had no idea what disabilities were. I mean, we all had a general understanding, but
when it's a member of your family, that of course it's completely different because it's part of your life then.
I think about this all the time as to like, who would I be and how would I see people with disabilities if Calvin wasn't in my life?
It takes a very strong family to raise someone who has a disability. That's for sure.
I remember the three of you finally kind of came into that ICU area and you just surrounded him and you were just all like loving on him, and you just loved him. And it's like you didn't notice that he was in this little thing. I'm sure you did, but you didn't say any of that. You just loved this little guy right there. You didn't know anything about him. Down syndrome, no Down syndrome. I don't think it registered to any of you. And that was the first time that those first few days and weeks where I was like, oh, this is going to be okay because you all loved him right away.
Because I've grown up with Calvin being my younger brother, and I saw him as a person before I saw him as a person with a disability.
The earlier years were very difficult. He was so intelligent and he still is. But at a young age, he was so intelligent and so smart, and his brain was working so well, but he was unable to communicate that out, and it frustrated him, and it made him bang his head on the wall when he couldn't communicate, bang his head on the ground, things like that. He is very strong-willed, and it was really him not being able to express his thoughts.
Do you have memories of when you were younger?
I repeat all the time.
You think about it all the time?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah. I play
We played.
all the time. I wish I could be the guy. It's that. I must go out now. Make sure that this month, whatever is take away. Yeah, good job, yeah.
Yeah.
And we still struggle with that when we don't understand what he's saying, and he knows what he's saying. But signing really helped. You know, in fact, he learned how to sign so much faster than we did that he would have to tell us, or we'd have to figure out, and then he would get to the point where he would want to say something, and he never learned the sign for it, so he would make something up. And that was a fun little treasure hunt game until we figured that out, what he meant. But it was so great because that's how important it was for him to communicate and stay with us until we get it.
Who has been the biggest help in navigating life with a boy like Calvin?
Definitely mom and dad.
By far, mom and dad.
My husband. And our social worker, but...
I mean, help came from all over. It came from family and friends and other people in the community who had children with Down syndrome.
But I remember that being really helpful, just, going to practice, and we're all kind of sitting together, and you end up kind of talking about your situation, and just you just feel a sense of support because other people are figuring out things, and you'll figure it out too.
This was brand new to them. It's almost like this has been our whole life, but to them they lived for like 30, 40 years before they knew anything about it.
As a husband and wife, you really lean on each other.
I mean, they say it takes a village to raise a child, but I think it takes a much larger village to raise a child with Down syndrome or any disability for that matter.
What has he taught you?
Not patience.
Having Calvin and living with Calvin and loving Calvin and dealing with Calvin has taught me a type of patience that I probably didn't know before.
He taught me that I should probably cherish every opportunity and be grateful for the things that I have.
The biggest thing is he taught me to be grateful for everything that I have, every opportunity that I get in life.
But most of all, he taught me love.
I think it's so easy to take everything that you have for granted in any scenario, but hitting these milestone points in life, turning 16 and getting my license, turning 18 and being able to vote. Calvin he loves cars, and he talks all the time about wanting to get a big white truck.
But he is just a totally regular person going through the same challenges that everyone does. I mean, he wants to save for a truck right now. He wanted a cell phone. He got one. He just wanted all the typical things. He wants a girlfriend bad.
What else do you want to talk about?
Gosh.
He wants to get married. He wants to have 2 children, 2 dogs, 3 cats, something like that. That changes, but he wants a boy and a girl and a wife.
Yeah.
What girls?
Oh gosh.
Hobby wobbies. Calvin is very athletic.
Sports has always been one of his biggest hobbies.
His sports. He's so into sports. He does floor hockey, which he has just really been amazing on how he developed.
But, hobbies, sports, interested in playing the games, floor hockey, soccer, baseball, and we used to be running around in the backyard.
You know, he used to play basketball a lot out in the backyard, and not on a team, but he could have.
So yeah, he's very much involved in the Raiders, and I think that's probably his number one hobby, and I think it's really great for him in a sense to have a community as well as something to do outside of school.
I think it gives him a sense of purpose and also friends and a place that he feels like himself.
No, but he is. He's so talented at it, and he's so good. He can throw and be right on target. He hits just awesome.
But also for him to have an opportunity to actually compete in meaningful games against other teams, and you get all caught up in that, and you kind of forget that these are special needs people. It's just, there's a game going on, and your kid is in it, and you're just like any other parent when you're doing that. You just wanting your kid to do the best they could possibly do and have fun, and it's thrilling. It's just such a thrill to go through that.
His interests are fleeting sometimes, but when he's interested in something, it is a full presence.
I think one of his other hobbies is school. I've never met someone who has loved school more than him. He's just such a curious student and excited to go to school every day and excited to be with his classmates, and that's something that I admire so much.
Favorite part about school?
My school, I love tests at school. Because when they know stuff, what's up there, we can catch my teacher, you can buy for us, see Parker, I was watching movies all day, with popcorn all day, and I really hate movies.
You hate movies?
Yeah,
At school?
yeah.
Why?
I don't know.
Because you wanted to take tests.
Yeah.
He's really been into music a lot.
He loves music.
But what teenager doesn't like music? So I don't know why I expected that to be other than it was.
The Wiggles,
Justin Timberlake,
Beyonce,
Bruno
Bruno
Mars,
Mars, Coldplay,
Prince,
to Big Time Rush.
Big Time Rush. So that's been kind of fun to see him go through these musical explorations.
So yes, in its simplest of terms, Down syndrome is a genetic condition that exerts physical and cognitive differences. But the key here is that Down syndrome is just that, a genetic difference, period. It's a boring science that categorizes people's differences and groups some individuals together. The science is the boring part. With Calvin, we see anything but boring. Anything but a category to push him into. Calvin is a person. He has likes and dislikes and hobbies, friends, humor, motivation, admiration, and ambition. He is proud and loud and sweet. There's life behind it. Calvin is experiencing life in all the ways that we do, maybe even better. Calvin is the proof of the strength in different abilities, not necessarily disabilities. He is love, sunshine, and happiness. We are so lucky to have him in our lives and share the beauty behind that extra chromosome.
How would you do it on this? How to find a topic for your capstone? Do it on how COVID ruined everything. Do it on ghosts. Find people who have had ghostly encounters and interview them. I mean, we can do it. You can do it on Calvin, but that's up to you. I mean, yeah, we can finish this and you can do it on Calvin, but you got to put in the work to make it interesting.
I do.
I think it's fine as long as you make it interesting. And but just asking me questions about Down syndrome, I can't find interest in that.
I know.
But that's up to you. Yeah, mainly because I think I'm funny.